Hello, everyone. I pray that you all are well. I pray that you are ready to hear this message. I pray that your ears are open, your mind is open, and your heart is open to hear what the Holy Spirit has to say to you today. Regardless of what time it is that you are watching this video, I pray that it is the right time for you. I am speaking to you today on behalf of NPower2 Empower on how to fight. I would like to thank God for the opportunity. I would love to thank Dr. Lisa Speak Life Burrell. And I would like to thank my spiritual father for the push, for guidance, for being who God has called him to be. There are a few other people that I would love to thank for pushing me after my yes and even before my yes, for helping me to see myself in a different way, in a different light. Um, just pressing this record button was a fight. And I cannot tell you how many times I've pressed it and stopped it and pressed it and stopped it and pressed it. But anyway, we're going to carry on. Um, I can speak to you today on many levels of how to fight. Um, this is not a natural fight, first of all, it's a spiritual fight. Yeah, that was eye opener for myself too. Not now, not this video, because for so long, all I've known that was how to to naturally fight. But this time, now, where I am now, I have to keep my hands down and keep my feet flat on the floor. So there's nothing natural about this fight. From a spiritual standpoint, I have multiple areas of what my fight means to me. I mean, I have my fight for love, there's a fight for existence, and there's a mental fight. For the mental fight, first of all, that one was a tough one. All of them are tough, especially when you are shifting out of how to fight naturally to spiritually fighting. It's hard to be untrained. So for so long, when this is the only way that you knew, and you're being pulled from out of that space into the space where you belong, that you are not fully aware of how to do. It's like, let me go back to what was easier for me. So let me go back to what made sense. Because this don't make no sense over here. I don't know how to do it like this. Let me do it the way I know how to do it. But with God, it was for me, it was a level of trust. It was a level of understanding. It was a level of surrendering and submission and giving God all access, full access, to take the lead, take the driver's seat, and I sit back here and I follow suit. Which was hard for me because I'm naturally a leader. I like to do things. I just like to do things. I like to go and do it if I can do it. But with God, it doesn't work that way. Not for me, not for anybody. Not that I can see. But so mentally, the fight was a bit difficult. There were spaces that would set me off. Not set me off as in me going off. It would just set me off. It would trigger me because I was so used to being able to do it myself. And this time and now, every time that I tried to naturally step in and do it, I would start having conflict in my mind. And the conflict in my mind would take me back to the point where I felt like I was losing my mind, because prior to that was a struggle for me. I felt like I was on edge all the time, and it was just too much for me. I really felt like I was losing my mind, and I tried to keep myself contained and keep a structure and keep a routine, and nothing was supposed to happen outside of what I had already orchestrated or what I have already put in place. If anything happened outside of that outline, it was out of control. But God tore it down. He quickly tore it down and allowed me to see that this won't work with me, with him, me and him. This is not going to take place in his relationship, his and my relationship. Like, you got to get rid of this. So he gave me the opportunity to voluntarily get rid of it, but I think I took a little too long because he involuntarily got rid of it, and I was like, wait, hold on, just a few more days, please. And he was like, no, I gotta go now. So he quickly got that up out of there. And yes, it was a bit devastating, but it was definitely an adjustment. And it pushed me to a point where I had to solely rely on him. I had no other access to anything, to any avenue that I knew that I could do. It was strictly him or nothing. And I chose him. I wanted him to do it. But in having him, wanting him to do it, it took some patience. It took some patience. So patience for me, that's a whole nother fight. I don't even know if we're going to include that in here, but that's a whole nother fight right there. But I will say this. He's taught me how to have much, much, much patience. Because although that I did everything on my own for the most part before this relationship with him, he taught me that with him, if I didn't have no patience, then I was going to just be disturbed, because I learned that he does things in his time and not my timing. So I was so used to doing it when I was able to do it and how I was able to do it immediately. And with him, it's like, nope, we're not doing it now. Even in moments where I was like, look, it's going to fall out of pieces if I don't get it done now, he still told me, wait, I'm going to do it when it needs to be done. And literally, when it needs to be done, this also taught me how to fully trust him, and how to step into that space where, even though it didn't look like what I needed it to look like, or even though I could not comprehend the way he was doing it or how it felt, the discomfort that came with it, I had to trust him in spite of. I had to trust him even when I felt like the bottom was going to fall out. And that was the hardest thing for me. It pushed me to a point where I felt like I was going to mentally lose my mind. So the battle with my mind is very, very intense. So I can give you a reference. So one particular time I felt like I was going to lose it. And in fact, I caught myself on the floor in worship, just pleading out, just crying out, saying, God, what is going on? I feel like I'm losing my mind. And he told me, he said, you are. And I was like, wait, what? But it wasn't to hurt me. It was to lose it, to gain his, to gain wisdom, to gain knowledge, to get understanding. And once I grasped hold, I was able to grasp hold of that concept. It was a lot easier for me. It still hurt though. It was still a bit discomfort. But when I broke, now I'm able to see the transformation that took place. I'm able to see what he has done for me. And I'm definitely grateful for that. So that was just a brief overview of the fight in my mind, because it goes on and on and on. I have had many traumatic instances in my life, from childhood up until early 30s, that probably would have caused me to lose my mind. Because even when I didn't understand, or even when I didn't feel like I had anybody, God has always been there, and he constantly lets me know that he's always been with me. So I'm going to bounce on to my fight for existence. In my fight for existence, I catch myself, or I caught myself in moments of struggling to exist. I'm not a person that desires to be out in front of everybody. I don't want to be seen. I don't even want to be heard. That's just me. I like to observe, but I want to matter, if that makes sense. And I, for people that get it, I pray you understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be the person on Front Street. That's not what I mean. but I want to matter to somebody. I want to be cared for. I want to be loved. Um, so for a long time, I was struggling. I was struggling to exist because I felt like, how are you in this world, but you only exist and you only matter when you are at the convenience of someone else. But once they've used you, or once you're no use to them, they don't see you. You don't matter, and you don't even realize what that truly does to you, or what it did to me. I could say what it did to me. It pushed me into a space of being distant, a space of not wanting to deal with people, a space of not trusting, a space of, I had some rage, some anger that was up in here, some stuff that I needed to release. So when God tore down that space for me in my fight for in the mental area, it allowed me to feel everything that I tried to shield myself from in my fight for existence and my fight for love. So my fight for existence kind of pushed into and ended when we got to me accepting me. It didn't matter whether I mattered to anybody else. God made very sure that I knew that I mattered to Him. He made sure that I mattered to me. So I caught myself giving myself, you know, and for affirmations and speaking life over myself over and over and over again. And I can hear the things that He would say to me over and over again. And I would catch myself from time to time saying, I really mean that much to you, Father. And He would show up present so heavy and allow me to just sit with Him and tell me over and over again how much He loved me and that He cared. So, and that pushes me into my fight for love. Now, my fight for love is a bit more intense, which is okay. Um, my fight for love was probably the most strenuous one. And I say this because I didn't know how to receive love. Or I don't even think I wanted it, because for so long, love hurt me. Or who was supposed to love me hurt me. And I didn't want it. I just didn't want it because I didn't want to be hurt anymore. I didn't want to be put in a space where I felt like, oh, if I did this, or if I allow this person to get too close, then it's going to backfire. So I just kind of shut myself off from it. But the one love that I needed to receive was the love of God that He was trying to pour out on me. And I could feel it. I could feel it hovering. I could feel it weighing, feel it burning in my heart. Like I knew He wanted to love me. He was loving me. But I didn't know how to receive it at the capacity that He was giving it. Matter of fact, I think I was a bit afraid of it. I was like, what is going on here? So when I was able to receive it and accept it at the capacity that He gave it to me, and the capacity that He continues to give it to me, it blew my mind. It transformed me. It pushed me into existence. It pushed me out of that mental space. It helped me to release. It helped me to heal and make me whole. It brought me out of an area that I knew only He could do. He brought people around me. He connected me with people who would accept me and receive me and love me the way that I was supposed to be. He showed me what it was like to have love in every area. And He's still showing me what it's like to receive love at the capacity at which I'm supposed to. But at first it started with me loving myself and allowing Him to love me. Even though He loved me, regardless of whether I allowed Him to. And I say allow was, when I say allow, I use it loosely, because what I mean by saying allow is letting it in, receiving it. Because He's going to pour out His love regardless. He loves us regardless. So, or whether we allow it or not, but receiving his love, because it's there. You just have to take it in. Once I started taking it in, it just turned me into a different woman. It blessed me. It changed my heart. It changed my mind. Um, I can sit here and talk for hours concerning love. Um, I am truly in love with God, and that's the space that I am now. I'm in love with Him. He loves me, and because He loves me, I am fully at His service. I am truly willing to be obedient to His call, to what He needs for me to do. Fighting, I've learned that fighting in love is totally different than fighting naturally. Fighting in God's love, fighting in Christ is so different. These past few days that just passed by showed me what it was like to just show up and be present and allow, just have, stay open for God to take over. Because every area and every person that I've encountered, even if it was someone from my past, they didn't see me when they saw Christ. And them being able to see Christ in me was enough for me. Prior to this, because I was talking to God about pruning. He gave me the example or the reference point of a fruit tree. My grandmother used to have these fruit trees in her backyard. She had this peach plum tree, and it would be so heavy with fruit that it would lean. So what he had told me, on what the understanding, the interpretation that I got of what I saw was, you can carry love, God's love, and you can bear the fruit of God. But if you're not dropping any of this fruit when you go through these places, when you're not bringing forth what He has given you to bring forth, it's not doing any justice. So when I spoke to him concerning pruning, he let me know that, okay, these past few days you went into places and you left fruit behind. Because I was like, Lord, I'm dropping my fruit and I'm leaving my fruit. I'm supposed to be carrying it with me. No, you don't carry it with you. You bear it to leave some. Whoever picks it up, that's who it's for. If they don't pick it up, it's not for them, which is fine. But he told me that in pruning, and even to the reference point about that tree in my grandmother's backyard, she had to go outside and prune that tree. And it was a good tree. She had to prune that tree, and she had to remove some of that good fruit, or it would get too heavy. It was too heavy to stand up straight. It was too heavy to hold. And it wouldn't produce more fruit because there was no room. So dropping off this fruit or leaving fruit behind for people to pick up, they're going to want more. And when they want more, that points them to Christ. And that's the only way you're going to get full, is if you allow God to fill you. So regardless of who He uses to bring this fruit forth, when you drop this fruit off, it's just an invitation to Christ. It leads them to Christ. They see the Christ in you and they want more. They want to know, what did you just leave behind, and where do you get that from? I want more. And it just takes them back to God. And when He showed me that, all I could say was, you used me for that? Like, I'm so grateful. I'm so honored. I mean, I of course, I give glory to God for everything that He has done in me. But He just truly showed me how He's changed me. He's shown me how He has placed me. He's shown me who I am. And He's put me back in places where I've encountered areas and people and things that would have normally, would have normally pushed me back in a space or caused me to go into a clamshell or triggered me or caused me to react a certain type of way. But because I carry His image, and because His glory rests on me, and because of His love for me, and because He loves me and the love that I carry of His, He has shown me that all I have to do is show up, and He shows up. And when they see me, they see Him. And everything or every fruit that is dropped or left behind points back to him. So, with that being said, what I'm going to end this with is God's love is worth fighting for. God's love is worth healing for. Healing hurts. It does hurt. If your healing is not hurting, then you're not healing. The purpose of healing is to be made whole. And when you're whole in God, you can bear his fruit. And you'll see that God, he's not going to hurt you, destroy you. He's not going to destroy you. But the hurt that you feel is just being pulled out of their place. Because sometimes old wounds have to be reopened to be healed. And that hurts worse than when it first happened. And what I'm going to say with that is, I know that with Christ, you can be changed tremendously. I know that allowing God to fight for you, your heart will be made whole. One of my very, very first desires was to have my heart transformed. I wanted a whole heart transplant. I wanted him to take this battered and abused heart up out of here, and I wanted him to give me a new one. And inside of me, I wanted him to love me back into existence. I wanted him to love me back to a space where I could connect with him and it could just strictly be me and him. And that's that relationship that I have with him now. He has a unique relationship with each and every one of us. Yes, he loves us all. Yes, he may use us all. But my relationship with him is unique, just like your relationship with him is unique. And allowing yourself to be in a space where he fully fights for you, that's a great space to be in, because that shows that you trust him. That shows that you love him. That shows that you're willing to be loved by him. That shows that you are going to allow the healing to take place so you can step into wholeness. That shows that everything that happened to you in your past doesn't matter anymore. But you do matter. You have been washed clean. That God is everything. When I say he is my everything, he is truly my everything. And if I knew now, I'm going to take that back. Because I used to say, if I knew now what I knew then, would I have made the same choices? I would not have made the same choices. But I understand now that I had to go through those things. I had to experience those things so that I can get to this point where I can be healed and made whole, so that I can be able to be available to be a reference point to those who need healing or need training or need to understand what it is to allow yourself to fight spiritually, or to allow God to fight for you. But fighting naturally won't do anymore. Trust me, I know. And it's just being in a good space. There are a few things that bring me to a point where it's like, okay, Teosha. And this is how I catch myself. I get in a space and I forget. I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember. Like I'm in something and I forget what he has taught me or how he has trained me to be able to step out of that situation. And it was a period of testing. But when I catch myself getting riled up and I stop and I say, okay, God, I know you don't want me to fight, so what's happening? Why is this happening? Then he'll start to bring back what he has shown me or what he has given me to fight my way, or to pray, or what he has done in that space, or he has already given me the tools that I needed. I just have to remember that they're there. I just have to use them and not allow my flesh to step in front to cause conflict, because your flesh is always going to cause conflict. That's what flesh does. But anyhow, I'm not going to carry on, but I am going to say this. I am truly grateful, truly grateful to have had the opportunity to speak to you concerning fighting, or what fighting in Christ is. And like I said, I pray that this message is definitely one that reaches your heart. I pray that this one helps you. And there is so much more that I can possibly, I know that I can probably sit here and say and go on and on and on and on and on concerning certain things. But, you know, I'm feeling like this is just what he wants me to hit, that this is the area that he wants me to embrace at this time. Primarily on fighting in love. Because fighting in love, God's love is totally different than the natural fight. Because God's love never fails. It doesn't. So there's definitely victory in everything that God does. And I am truly an example of that, of God's victory, of God's love, because I know I carry God's love. So with that being said, I pray you have a blessed day, blessed night, blessed morning, whatever time you're watching this. I pray that your day is blessed and you are an amazing person, whomever you are. Thank you for watching.